breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for us. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. We're going to chat it up with him about what we're all getting right now in this landscape of baseball, how he takes a look at this very, very murky American League, and then we'll take a look at Saturday's games, and I'll talk with him if we're able to find a little bit of value right now with regards to this MLB board with these last few days, because there's going to be a lot of guys that get a little bit of rest going into the All-Star break. In the final segment, I give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Friday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Well, unfortunately, we did not get a Brewers versus Pirates game. That game got postponed, but we did get the Tigers absolutely lambasting the Philadelphia Phillies. This by a count of 10-2, as Aaron Nola was not too bad in this one. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings, and then the bullpen just completely lights this ablaze. Tim Mays, 5 runs, 4 of which weren't given up in his inning. Max Laser, 3 runs allowed in his inning of work, including 2 bombs. Spencer Torkelson, his 16th home run of the campaign. Kevin McGonigal a little bit earlier off of Aaron Nola, 8th home run season. Then Cole Keith, 8th home run of the campaign. Garrett Stubbs, as a position player, 8 scoreless inning, and the captain Jack Flaherty, captain of the given up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings approach, as Derek Hill, 7th home run of the campaign. Jacob Wagievspak and Drew Summers combined for a scoreless inning, and Bo Brisky, 2 shutout innings out of him. Getting shut out, the Chicago Cubs 4-0. The Reds get the job done. Much better start here from Hunter Green. 12 punch-outs, 7 shutout innings. Brock and Roberk, Emilio Pagan both give you a scoreless inning, and then Shota Imanaga only got shot out of a cannon once by one Mr. Elliott of the Crew's 15th home run season. Lone run that he would give up in his 5 innings. Trent Thornton, scoreless inning from there, and then Jake Woodford gives up 3 runs to 2 innings. J.J. Bleday cranked him deep, 15th home run of the campaign. For the Miami Marlins, they fall to the Cleveland Guardians 3-2 the final. As for the Guardians, Parker Messick was on it in this game. Gives up a home run over the course of 6 innings, as going deep off of him, Alberto Hernandez, 13th home run season, and Leo Menes a little bit later on off of Eric Sabrowski, his 2nd home run of the campaign. Sabrowski gives up that home run in a 3rd of an inning. Colin Olderman lives up to his name, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Hunter Gaddis, Kate Smith lend a squirrel setting in. Sandy Alcantara, 3 runs allowed in 7 innings, was taken deep by Chase DeLauder, 10th home run season. Ryan Gusto, May Gusto, to 2 shutout innings, but too little too late there. For the New York Yankees, this was enough to be able to get it done. 5-3, they take down the Washington Nationals. Carson Palmquist, he pretty much piggybacked with Zach Littell. Palmquist, 1 run allowed in 3 innings. He did give up a home run, though, as that was from Ben Rice, 29th home run in the campaign, and then off of Zach Littell, Yasan Dominguez, 5th home run season. Littell, 1 run allowed in 4 innings, and then you had Matt Crook be all sorts of crook. He had 2 runs allowed in a 3rd of an inning. Justin Lawrence gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. They both gave up a home run, as Jazz Chisholm, 13th home run of the campaign, and Austin Wells hits at Wells for his 16th home run of the season. You did have Clayton Beater give you an out of the bullpen scoreless, and a pair of outs from Tom Cosgrove as well. And for the Yankees, Ryan Weathers, 1 run allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Fernando Cruz, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Tim Hill does give up a pair of solo home runs. Keibert Ruiz, 7th home run season. James Goodwood for his 26th, but Jake Bird from there, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. David Bernard does not poop the Bernard, 2 shutout innings out of him. He had the Baltimore Orioles get done against the Kansas City Royals by a count of 5-3. Brandon Young continues his solid season. 3 runs allowed in 7 innings. Isaac Collins gets his 5th home run of the campaign. Jack Caglione his 15th. Uncle Rico Garcia, Andrew Kittredge, they both end a scoreless inning. And Lou Inder Avila gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. He was taken deep by Blaze Alexander, 4th home run of the season. Then Samuel Basayo, his 15th off of Matt Strom, who continues to be miserable. 2 runs allowed over the course of his inning of work. Steven Cruz and Daniel Lynch, they both end a scoreless inning. From there, you had the LA Angels get a win, 4-3. They take down the Minnesota Twins as Grayson Rodriguez, 3 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Samuel Antera, 5 outside the bullpen squirrels. Sam Bachman, Kirby Yates, they both give you a scoreless inning. And Zebby Matthews, 4 runs allowed over the course of his 6 innings for Vaughn Grisham, 5th home run season From there, Andrew Morris, 2 shutout innings. Travis Adams, a scoreless inning, but too little too late there. The Toronto Blue Jays are able to get a 5-3 win over the Slam Diego Padres. J.P. Sears got not overly slammed, but still 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Johnny Brito from there, 2 2/3 innings, gives up 2 runs, including a home run to Kazuma Okamoto. 22nd of the campaign, Wandy Peralta, Ron Marinaccio, both on a scoreless inning, and Shane Bieber, he had a fever for getting outs. 4 2/3 innings, gives up 2 runs, including a home run to Xander Bogaerts. 9th home run season, then Louis Varland does give up a run in an inning, but Mason Flaherty out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Chad Dallas along with Jeff Hoffman and Tyler Rogers. They're all able to turn a scoreless inning. More than enough scoring for the Walker Texas Rangers. 7-3. They take down the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown, 3 runs allowed over the course of his 6 innings of work. He was taken deep in this one by Jock Peterson, 15th home run of the campaign. A little bit later on, Jake Berger, 16th home run season. That was off of Brian King, who had a rough one. He also gave up a home run to Ryan Langford, his 9th of the campaign. King gives up 4 runs at his inning of work. Stephen Okert, a shutout inning. And Cal Quantrill, solo home run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Yordan Alvarez, 30th home run season. A little bit later on, Yenier Diaz, his 6th. That comes off of Chris Martin, who gives up 2 runs and 2/3 of an inning, but Cole Winn, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Tyler Alexander, he was able to turn a scoreless inning. The Red Sox are now 27-21 away from home. 6-2, they take down the New York Mets. I think that's the best road record in the American League. Sonny Gray, a sunny day for him. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Teron Guerrero, Garrett Woodlock, both gave you a scoreless inning. Greg Weiser gives up a solo home run to Brett Beatty, 4th home run of the season, but too little too late for the Mets after Noel McLean. Good start here, 2 unearned runs given up in 6 innings of work. From there, A.J. Minter, he had 2 runs allowed in his inning, and Juan Soto had the error that hurt McLean, by the way. And for Minter, he gives up a home run to Anthony Seager, his 2nd home run of the campaign. A little bit later on, you had Weiler Abreu while out. His 11th home run season off of Cino Perez. Gives up 2 runs and 2/3 of an inning. Xavier Curry out of the bullpen scoreless, and Kodai Senga now coming out of the bullpen, 2 shutout innings. And for the Athletics, 14-1, they fall to the White Sox. As for the White Sox, they were able to do a nice job of getting to Aaron Savali. Jacob Lopez, the opener, 5 outs to begin the game, and then Savali gives up 4 runs and 2 1/3 innings. Alvis Alvarado was in the building for 2 shutout innings, but Justin Cerner, no outs, and he gives up 5 runs, all of which were earned, as it was home run number 6 of the campaign for Mr. Tristan Peters, and then Miguel Vargas off of Carlos Cortez, a position player, his 21st of the campaign. Mason Barnett, 3 runs allowed in his inning of work. Cortez gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, and for Sean Burke, he was great. 7 runs allowed over the course of 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Tyler Soderstrom, 14th home run of the season. And then, Tyler Davis be able to give you 2 shutout innings. From there, the Tampa Bay Rays stay the hot shell Rays. 7-2, they take down the Seattle Mariners as Luis Castillo. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. 3 bombs as Cedric Mullins, 11th home run season. Richie Palacios, his 3rd. And then you had Victor Mesa Jr. get his 5th. And Junior Caminero, I believe he's now up to 13 home runs in the last 17 games. 28th of the campaign. That comes off of Jose Ferrer. 3 runs allowed in a 1/3 of an inning. Edward Pizarro, a shutout inning. You had Cole Wilcox also give you a scoreless inning and a pair of outs out of the bullpen from Nick Davila. Meanwhile, Nick Martinez, 5 1/3 innings. He gives up 2 runs, both of which was earned. He was taken deep by Cole Young, his 11th home run of the season. From there, Cole Sulzer, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Garrett Clevenger, a scoreless inning. And Kevin Kelly, he was able to give 2 shutout innings as well. Do have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, and we're starting to wrap up a few of these games. For the Diamondbacks, they should be able to get this one against the Dodgers. Dodgers are currently down 9-2 going into the 9th inning. Eduardo Rodriguez, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, pair of solo home runs. Shohei Ohtani, 21st of the season, and then Andy Paz, his 17th, and it was supposed to be Ohtani on the mound, but turned into a bullpen game. Kyle Hurt, well, he hurt. He gave up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Will Klein, 1 2/3 innings. He gives up a run. Brock and Roll Stewart, 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up in his inning of work, as Tim Tewa, 2nd home run of the campaign. Edgar Enriquez, 2 unearned runs given up in 1 2/3 innings. Jack Dreyer, scoreless inning. Evan Phillips, a scoreless inning. And right now you've got Braden Garcia and Jonathan Loaiza holding down the fort for the Arizona Diamondbacks out of that bullpen. This one is not going to be done for a while. We are currently in the bottom of the 6th inning, and it's like nearly midnight Central Time. It is 1-1 between the Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. One of the longest rain delays of the year. Chris Sale only able to go 3 innings as a result. Same goes for Kyle Leahy. They all lent scoreless innings. From there, Victor Medeiros for the Atlanta Braves, 2 shutout innings. Right now, DDA Fuentes has already given up a run, trying to work his way out of the 6th. George Royano, a run given up in 1 1/3 innings. Justin Brule, 5 outs scoreless, but that is a late one. Those guys are going to be tired tomorrow, and right now the Giants are leading the Colorado Rockies in a low-scoring scoring slog, 2-1 going into the 8th inning, as Tanner Gordon just 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings, was taken deep by Rafael Devers, 19th home run season, and Robbie Ray said, hip hip parade, only giving up 1 run despite having 6 walks in 5 innings. For the Rockies, they are not driving men in right now. From there, Dylan Smith, a shutout inning. You had Keaton Wynn and Sam Hentges combined for a squirrel setting for the Giants, and then Brendan Bernardino, he was able to end a squirrel setting for the Rockies, and right now Jimmy Hergood has given up a run in an inning. And if you're looking at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball, it has been a very interesting season, with it being a little bit overwhelming thus far, but we have been seeing some more unders coming through here over the last week or so. Overall for the season, the over rate is 50.6%, 696 overs, 679 unders, and I believe we've had 32 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line, 56.2%, 770 and 599 on the money line, and we have now seen 182 of those favorites fail to cover the run line, and over the last 7 days, favorites cleaning house, 57 and 34 on the money line. 15 of those 57 favorites, though, did not cover the run line, and right now the over rate right around about 48.9%. Few games pending from Friday, but 44 overs, 46 unders, and 2 pushes along the way. That's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, let's chat it up with our good friend Rob Donaldson of Underdog Fantasy right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Decent Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Rob Donaldson aboard. He does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he's also doing an exceptional job taking a look at getting set for the upcoming college basketball season as well. He's over there at Underdog Fantasy and on Twitter/X at RobDFB all together. And Rob, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. It's always a great time talking ball. And, you know, we're kind of in this precursor couple days here before the All-Star break. And, you know, post All-Star break, you and I both know things get crazy. Teams change, players change, slumps happen, players ascend out of nowhere, call-ups happen. It's really just kind of the home stretch of Major League Baseball where the things that are happening truly, truly matter. And yeah, we're knocking on the door of that, my friend.
And I think that that's a good jumping off point for you. Do you tread a little bit more lightly with some of these players getting like a day or two off going into the All-Star break for a little bit of added rest? Or do you think that there's even more edges to be added now with regards to these next few days?
This couple days here, there's a lot of strong edges because you can kind of feel like if you're looking at the trajectory of some of these teams are just hoping and praying the All-Star break gets here on Friday, right? As we're recording this. Some teams don't want that to end. I look at the Red Sox, for example, as a team that's one of the hottest in Major League Baseball right now. And I don't think that they want the All-Star break. They want to keep rolling because, truly speaking, the door is open in the American League for a number of teams just because of how dismal it's been. And I feel the exact same kind of opposite when you're looking at the American League picture and you're keying in on a team like the Oakland Athletics or the Sacramento Athletics or Las Vegas Athletics, because truly they are a team right now that feels like they're going through the motions and they can't get right at all. They just don't have one of those stoppers that's in that rotation to go out there and just hold it down for them. So it is the offense, and the offense right now, they're looking sluggish. So they're praying for the All-Star break. I think over the next couple of days here, you can capitalize on some of those trends and target some of those teams that are kind of mailing it in or really gung-ho going into the break.
Yep, absolutely. As we do have our good friend Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And you mentioned it with the American League. Holy crud. It has been absolutely insane, to say the least. The fact that we have had none of these teams really be able to give us much of anything. Like, what do you make out of what we've got in the American League? Because the Rays are right now on top. It looked like the Yankees were going to run and hide with things, and boy, have they fallen down recently. And I just want you to take a look at this because I feel like this has been the weakest league I've ever seen in my life in terms of ever watching baseball.
No question about it for me as well. And I mean, ultimately, when the Chicago White Sox are the number 3 team in your league and they're only 2 games over 500, that pretty much speaks the volumes it needs to speak. And, the Tampa Bay Rays, just by position within the standings, they get this inherent credit of like being the top dog in the American League. They don't feel like that, though, when you truly watch them. They've got a young star in Junior Caminero who's playing like one of the best players in Major League Baseball this season. They've got a really great pitching rotation as well. But what we know about the Tampa Bay Rays, and we'll see if the narrative changes after this trade deadline, they love to sit on their prospects. They love to sit on their hands, and they don't like to spend money to go out and get guys. I feel the same way about the Cleveland Guardians. And so when you're talking about 2 of the 4 teams near the top of the American League potentially just not being crazy aggressive buyers at the deadline, I don't know if we've ever seen something like that, Greg. And in my opinion, and this is what we've kind of been talking about, for a couple weeks now, is there anybody in the middle that I think can really ascend out of nowhere and take a stranglehold in that top 3? I've been mentioning the Texas Rangers, and I feel even more confident about it stating it today because of the aggressiveness that we've seen from them at the deadline. I think they have a lot of pieces already in place. They're close to being a very, very good team. I think they'll go out and add the pieces that need to be added, and I really do think that they're going to end up as my AL favorite to ascend to the World Series.
Yeah, it's going to be very unique to see what happens in this American League because I'm right there with you on the Rangers, and I've been trying to talk myself into the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit as well. How do you feel about them? Because I do think that for Toronto, there's a little bit of upside there. It just feels like not a lot has gone right for them this far this season.
Yeah, and the big part, right, that's gone wrong for them is Vladdy is Luis Arraez. I mean, he doesn't hit for pop right now. I don't get it. He's hitting for a lot of contact, and he's positionally hitting pretty decent. But a lot of the hard hits that he is delivering, when he does sparingly do so, it's coming in the form of hard hit ground balls. And so this has been a team that's been led by Okamoto. Has really kind of been the launching pad for this team. And outside of him, Ernie Clement. But who else? I don't really know. Are they going to be one of those teams that at the deadline go out and actually acquire pieces? I'm not so sure. They're sitting 5 games under 500. Well in the mix, though, as crazy as that sounds. And so ultimately we will see. But they're not a team right now that if I'm kind of identifying a team that is super, super close, just a couple trades away, they're not that for me. And ultimately, I don't know if they will go out and make those necessary trades.
Yep, that is a little bit of a question mark. And speaking of the Blue Jays, they're about even money here on Saturday against the San Diego Padres, total of 8 with Walker Buehler versus Trey Savage. And I actually do think that this is a good opportunity for the Blue Jays to get right. I want to get your thoughts here because Walker Buehler has given up, I believe, 16 runs in his last 2 starts. Like, it looked like things were trending northward. That he was looking like the Walker Buehler that we all know and love, and then he toilet bowled. And Trey Savage does seem to be rounding into a little bit of better form here for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think you nailed both points where when you're looking at Walker Buehler and just the season that he was having up to a certain point, it kind of felt like it was, to your point, trending northward. It felt like the hard hits weren't being allowed. He was striking out enough batters to really carve through some lineups and be that guy that goes out there for 6 or 7 innings and only allows 2 or 3 earned runs every single start. And that's going to put you in a position to win games. That has fallen off a cliff fast because the hard hit percentage numbers have skyrocketed in an immediate fashion. And for Trey Savage, he's actually doing really well to kind of tame that down, where at one point in the season, it was looking really, really rough. Now it's looking a little bit better. And I think ultimately when you're talking about the Padres in general right now, you got to highlight the fact that this offense is absolutely anemic. It looks terrible. They have a lot of old players, and those old players don't look like they're into the game. It just doesn't look like they're playing exciting baseball right now. So I look at the Blue Jays. Anytime you can get a decent price with an offense that can be potentially budding with a star ace on the bump, taking on a team that can't score runs in their home ballpark that's not conducive to scoring said runs, yeah, sign me up for the Blue Jays. I think that's one of my favorite bets here on Saturday.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And man, it's been rough for the Padres to say the least. And we talk about American League teams and how so many of them are having struggles. One team that's rising up has been actually the Boston Red Sox. Now, it's a little bit TBD as to what we're going to get out of them because this game is off the board. Fangraphs projected Brian Bayo for the start, but how do you look at a Red Sox team that is 26-21 away from home, 10 games below 500 at home, and now they get to go up against Freddie Peralta, who's on a historically bad run over last month?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think the overall trends of the Red Sox at home, we and just the Red Sox offense in general, home and away, they've had a weird season given the talent that they have at their disposal. And it kind of feels like as of late, they're rounding maybe into form, whether that's fool's gold or not. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll tell you, we've seen a Miles Michaelis go to the bullpen and kind of be like the long inning reliever after having an opener and look somewhat presentable. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Brian Bayo in this start, kind of like we've seen with a number. And Miles Michaelis is the example that came to mind, but this is becoming a real trend in Major League Baseball. Walker Buehler was also a beneficiary of that for a few weeks. And it kind of feels like, hey, even if it's Brian Bayo not taking the bump immediately, if he comes in through maybe innings 3 through 7, it might be a good role and a surprisingly upside heavy role as a bettor to go ahead and take the Red Sox in those types of dynamic starts. So I'm looking at the Red Sox here. I'm feeling like it could be a really nice day. And the same way that we kind of opened up this episode talking about the trend lines, they are one of those teams that are going hot into the All-Star break. Maybe they don't want the All-Star break to happen so fast, and I tend to think that they're going to show out until it does.
Yep, I'm right there with you, as we do have our good friend Rob Donaldson joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and then I'm intrigued by this one. A relative pick-em, Rays maybe a slight favorite against the Seattle Mariners with Griffin Jax going for them, and Jax has been much better as a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. I just can't help but feel like there's a lot of regression due for him, and I think there's good value here on Logan Gilbert, even though it is a Rays team that has had Junior Caminero go into inferno mode.
Yeah, it's almost like with Logan Gilbert, the funny thing is he is so prone to the solo bombs being given up, but man, can the guy dance around hard hits with a lot of strikeouts, and that's what you got to measure it with. There are some power pitchers in this sport that when you look at their underlying numbers in terms of hard hit percentages, it gives you the pause, but when you're racking up Ks, that's how you get around those. And that's what Logan Gilbert does. So I totally expect maybe Junior Caminero to hit a solo bomb in the first inning and the Mariners be down 1-0. But at the end of it, it could be 6 innings pitched or 7 innings pitched with only 1 run given up when you're talking about Logan Gilbert's trajectory in this vacuum. So, and to your point about Griffin Jax, yeah, the underlying numbers for him, they're a little bit scarier because the hard hit percentages are there, the strikeouts are not, and the Mariners are a lineup that really needs to get it going. We've been saying that for years at this point, it feels like, but I tend to think in this little vacuum pocket of a game, take that first 5 money line with the Mariners and feel pretty good about it, in my opinion.
I think so as well. And how about if we talk about the team that has a worst record in baseball over the last 30 plus days? That's the Atlanta Braves. They're on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Ronaldo Lopez against Matthew Liberatore, and the Braves -115 to -120. Want to get your thoughts here because I think that they're going to be able to get right at some point. And Matthew Liberatore has been the weak link for the Cardinals this year, and I think this might be that get right spot here for Atlanta.
The interesting thing with Atlanta, and yeah, it's crazy to look at their 30-day trajectory. Obviously, Ronald Acuna has been injured, and so that is a massive, kind of detriment when you're talking about kind of that 30-game or 30-day sample size. But yeah, no, the Braves have been going through it, and ultimately, if you can throw a lefty at the Braves, who's a competent lefty, you can neutralize this entire offense. Now, Liberatore is not really a competent lefty. You look at his hard hit percentage numbers, they're some of the worst in Major League Baseball. So what gives? Can the Braves finally hit a left-handed pitcher, or will Liberatore finally have a quality outing? Who knows? But I tend to think the ultimate X factor here is actually Ronaldo Lopez, who's been, honestly, in these types of spots for the Braves over the years, or just different teams over the years, he's been very, very competent at going out there, maybe not being a guy that you want to trot out in the postseason, but a guy during these types of regular season matchups who can go out there and give you 5 or 6 strong innings. And so ultimately, I'm going to take a chance on Liberatore being just enough. just going out there, giving up maybe 3 or 4 earned through 5 innings, and the bullpen does the rest. I'm going to take a sneaky under here, just hoping that we get the best version of Reynaldo Lopez in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. We'll see what comes to fruition, but I tend to think that both guys could have a really strong outing here, surprisingly.
Yep, it's going to be very fascinating to see what happens there, and we've got ourselves an amazing card for the Saturday. All 30 teams are in action. Anything else that you're taking a look at, Rob?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the Yankees and Nationals game, that's a game that obviously when you're talking about a Cam Schlittler start, a lot of people are thinking, okay, this is my opportunity to back a really bad Yankees offense, but nobody ever kind of factors in the bullpen that potentially comes in after Schlittler. And also, nobody's taking into account that the Nationals have the best offense in Major League Baseball by a wide margin, in large part because they can hit right-handed pitching. So I'm going to take a sneaky shot here with the Washington Nationals. And I'm also going to take a shot here with just taking the over through the full game. No, I don't really trust Miles Michaelis to go out there and shove against even the Yankees lineup, as Ben Rice is heating up as well. And so I think it's going to be one of those games that finishes maybe like 7-8. But at the Nationals with this price, knowing what James Wood is, knowing what CJ Abrams is, knowing what Luis Garcia has been performing like as of late as well, I want a piece of that offense giving me a chance, that puncher's chance, and I think they're going to have it in this game.
It's going to be a really interesting card, and for the Nationals, it's the old situation of something's got to give with them facing off against the Yankees in this one, so I'm very intrigued there. And Rob, I know that you're doing an incredible job looking at this great sport of baseball. You're dialed in on college basketball and so much more, so let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, hey, Greg, it's always fun talking ball with you, and we're going to be doing a lot more of it to tail off this end of the season. But, for those who want to follow my bets over the next coming days, and then after, obviously the All-Star break, Twitter/X at RobDFB, and also on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rob Donaldson. But as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
It's always great to be able to get Rob aboard every single time he joins me. He lends such great insights. He did so once again today. So big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on the game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at GUnit_81, and we're going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games. Also in time order, any interleague games are going to be at the bottom. We'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Rockies are going to be on the road against the Giants. Tyler Mahle goes for the Giants and Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. 8.5 is the total. The over is between -110 to even money. The under is between -110 to a -120, -146 and -155 is that number on the Giants, +124 to +130 on the Rockies, and I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Giants. I'm not willing to quite go run line here. I did set my number at a -153, but Kyle Freeland has been absolutely awful this year. Like, there's just no backing him. 7.46 ERA. He's allowing 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. He's been awful at home. He's been awful on the road. He'd be awful on planet Pluto. There is just nothing here that encourages you. Heck, the ERA goes to an 8.62 away from home with well over 2.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Mahle right now, he's posting up a 5.70 ERA, 4.59 fielding, depending on 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. And the Rockies have actually not been awful with their offense away from them. Typically, they're just home merchants, and then on the road, they're absolutely terrible. They're averaging 4.6 runs per game away from them. And I recognize that for the Giants, they're only averaging about 3.9 runs per game at home. That's because San Francisco is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. But still, Bryce Eldridge has been able to give you over 350 on base. All of a sudden, you've got Luis Rise, Jung-Ho Lee hitting above a 300. They've been without Matt Chapman. That's really not a loss because Casey Schmidt, along with Rafael Devers, are both give you 16 plus home runs. So you're getting some relatively good power and just overall production there. And then Hunter Goodman is a good man. Not only is he up to 27 home runs this season, more of those home runs have been away from home this year. 18 of them have been away from home. And then TJ Bromfield is finding himself in the Rookie of the Year hunt. He's been hitting darn near 300 along Troy Johnson, and for Bromfield, he's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. They've dealt with the injury to Brenton Doyle. That is not a bad thing. He has been not great all season long, and even someone like a Kyle Karras towards the bottom of the lineup has been relatively solid. Rockies' bullpen has been very rocky, to say the least. You've got Blas Castano currently on the injury list. Brennan Bernardino has not been bad, but Jordan Romano over a 5 ERA was awful with the Rockies. TJ Shook has an ERA of a 9.1. Mejia, Victor Vodnik, so many guys with a 5+ ERA. And then for the San Francisco Giants, they haven't necessarily been the Mona Lisa Vitos themselves of their bullpen. The likes of Dylan Smith, along with Eric Miller, Caleb Killian, a whole bunch of guys. They're hovering in that neighborhood of like a 3.70 to a 4 ERA. Sam Hentages has been relatively okay, but you've got Keaton Wynn on the injury list. But again, just can't trust in Kyle Freeland. Both of these starters, both of these bullpens have not been good. I'm in on the over, so I told it at 8.7. And for the Giants, I'm willing to lay up to a -152 on the money line. 9.53, 9.54 on the card. It's the Buccos. They're going to be playing us in Milwaukee Brewers. Bubba Chandler goes for the Pirates, and right now it is Shane Drone going for the Brewers. The Brewers who find themselves as a -130 favorite. Plus 110 is that number on Pittsburgh. 8.5 is the total. Over is -115 to a -120. The under is between even money to -105. And I'm willing to lay up to a -130 with the Brewers. I set this at a -131. For Bubba Chandler, he just needs to really work on the walks. He's been giving up darn near 5 walks per 9 innings this season. He's got good swing and miss stuff. Has yet to really show it this year with about 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's really been dipping over his last few starts. As a matter of fact, his last start, he got 0 strikeouts against the Washington Nationals, but has been a much better pitcher when he has been at home rather than away from home. And then for Shane Drone, he's just been rock solid here for the Brewers. How about a 2.97 ERA, 3.21 fielding dependent, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I'm really liking what I'm seeing there. And for the Brewers, they've got the far better bullpen in this game, as Trevor McGill, along with Abner Uribe after rough starts of the season, they've been able to give you a sub-375 ERA. You've got Chad Patrick, who's now able to give you some long relief. Jared Koenig is off the injury list. So you've got a lot of good pieces for the team. And then for the Pirates, Justin Lawrence had to get DFA'd because he was so bad. Gregory Soto supplying an ERA that's starting to hover right around about a 4. Evan Sisk, who's been arguably their best bullpen piece, he's currently on the injury list. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez, has been relatively okay, but it's a shaky bullpen. They're currently in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA, but the Pirates are averaging about 5.7 runs per game at home as well. That's numero uno in all of baseball. Nick Gonzalez, Jake Magnum are both hitting above a 300. Henry Davis is giving you nothing towards the bottom full, but even like Jared Trollo has been okay for the team. Brian Reynolds are near 400 on base. Ryan O'Hearn, double-figure amount of homers, nearly at 350 on base, and then you got Brandon Lowe getting loud for 19+ home runs. And for the Brewers, they're a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs at a per at-bat basis, but you just look at this lineup. 1 through 9 in the lineup yesterday, all hitting for at least a 326 on base, and the low man is Christian Yelich. Like, that tells you these guys are able to move the line. Right now, Jake Bowers has been leading the way with like 15 or 16 home runs. He's up to a 370 on base. Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Terang, they're right around about a 360 as well. Heck, you've been able to get a little bit more out of Sal Frelick as well, so I do think that this is a good spot for the Brewers. I made their money line a -131, willing to lay that, and I mean, the Brewers are averaging 5.1 runs per game. I think that you get some scoring, so I might sell it at 8.8, give me the over. And if this sounds like an insert, you'd be correct, because we did have a rainout on Friday. We're thinking that it should be Brandon Sproat going for the Milwaukee Brewers, just like it was supposed to be on Friday, going up against the Pirates, Braxton Ashcraft, and when this was taken off the board, Ashcraft was between a -120 to a -125 favorite, total between 8 to 8.5, and whether you've got an 8 or an 8.5, I'm in on the over. I set my total more around an 8.8, as Brandon Sproat has been posting up well above a 5 ERA, 1.6+ home runs per 9 innings, over 4.2 walks per 9, so the picks are unchanged from yesterday. I'm still in on Braxton Ashcraft and company. I would be willing to lay up to a -139 here on the Pirates money line, with him being able to give you about a 3.24 ERA, 9+ strikeouts per 9 innings. It's been giving up less than a home run per 9. You still have that Pirates offense as number 1 in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home. So with regards to Sproat versus Ashcraft, if we do get that for the double dip, I'm going to be still looking at the over just like yesterday, and I'm going to be in on the Pirates money line, unlike the other matchup where I'll be taking Shane Drone and the Brewers on the money line. 9:55, 9:56 on the card. The Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on to playing host to the Chicago Cubs. Javier Assad is on the bump for the Cubs. Nick Lodolo on the low for the Reds. Total on this game is 10, over and under anywhere between -105 to -115, -115 to -120. That number on the Cubbies, and even money to -105 for the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm going to be honest in today. I set them at a -114. Javier Assad just pitches to way too much contact for me. He's getting only about 5.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. That ERA is right around about a 4.10, 4.15, but the fielding independent is an entire point higher, so have to have a lot of trepidations there. And for the Cincinnati Reds, I recognize that Nick Lodolo has not been very good. 4.68 ERA, 5.04 fielding independent with 3.7 walks per 9 innings, 7.2 strikeouts per 9, but he's been better of late. 2 runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts. You've got a Cubs bunch that has had Ian Happ along with Alex Bregman be towards the top of the big leagues in terms of men left on base this season as well. Now, Pico Armstrong has been great. If it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani, he'd probably be the front runner for Cy Young right now. 21 home runs. He's been able to give you well above a 380 on base, and his glove has been much better recently as well. And then Seiya Suzuki, Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, all between 15 and 17 home runs. Swanson has been so much better over the last 3 days. Still has rough season numbers, but that's been pretty good. Michael Conforto has been dipping a little bit, but Carson Kelly continues to move line as well. But here's a big thing for the Cubs. So many bullpen injuries. Phil Matone, Riley Martin, along with Daniel Palencia. So many guys are currently on the injury list, so they're looking to mix and match with the likes of Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb. These guys have been relatively solid, but now they had to pick up Drew Pomeranz off the scrap heap, who was good last year. Absolutely awful this year with the Angels. It feels like every bullpen piece for the Angels is absolutely awful. And then on the flip side, for the Reds, since June 1st, they've been about a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA. Overall for the season, they're in the bottom 10, but it's improving. These veterans like DJ Antone, Sam Moll, Brock and Roll Burke are able to give you a sub-350 ERA. They get Emilio Pagan off the injury list. I don't really have a lot of faith in him, but hey, for the Cincinnati Reds, you also have Ellie De La Cruz back, and he's been able to provide a little bit of wall up as he and JJ Bleday hovering in that neighborhood about like 12 to 13 home runs apiece. Sal Stewart has really been your main man. 19 bombs, he's given you about a 340 on base. And then Spencer Steer, he's up to 14 home runs, about a 325-ish on base. Bleday and De La Cruz more around about a 345 on base. You need a little bit more at the bottom of the fold, the likes of TJ Friedel and Eugenio Suarez. I recognize he's not at the bottom, but he's been playing like he's been at the bottom. Matt McClain, guys like this, hitting at 225 or lower is a little bit rough, but I do think that the Reds get to a side here, and I do think that Lodolo gives you a good enough start through the under. I saw my total 9.8, like the under, and for the Reds, 1 up to -113 on that money line. 957, 958 on the card. The Braves are going to be on the road against the Cardinals, as you've got Matthew Liberatore going for the Cardinals. Ronaldo Lopez is on the bump for the Braves, and the Braves do find themselves as a slim favorite here of -116 to -120. Even money to -102. That number on St. Louis, 8.5 to 9 is total. On the 9, under is -120, and the over is even. On the 8.5, over is -120, under is even money. And for the Braves, I did set them at a -127, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the money line for Ronaldo Lopez. It certainly has been interesting to say the least for him, because he begins the year as a starter, goes into the bullpen, now he's a starter once again. Probably doing for a little bit of regression, 3.18 ERA compared to a 4.24 fielding depending. He has given up the 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but has been highly effective as a starter this year. Like, I just did not think that he was cut out to be in the bullpen. His last start out, he gives up 1 run over the course of 5 innings, and you take a look at that split for him right now. He's got a 3.12 ERA as a starter, and as a starter, he's given up the deep ball a little bit, but I mean, he's been posting up a lower ERA as a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. 3.27 ERA, so maybe it's not as big as I thought it was, but it just feels like he's got a little bit of a better rhythm there. And then for Matthew Liberatore, well, he needs to be liberated from the fact that he's had a terrible season. 5.34 ERA, about a 5.10 fielding dependent, 1.7 home runs, 3.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. It's just been no good, very bad, terrible. He's given up 4+ runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. And for the Braves, since June 8th, going into the day on Friday, they actually had the worst record in all of baseball in that time span over the course of about 27 or so games, but they've been a much better offense away from home rather than at home. 4.7 runs per game at home, about 5.15 runs per game away from home. And I recognize that the bullpen is dipping a little bit. They're right now dealing with the injury to Robert Suarez, but this is still a bunch that, with regards to bullpen ERA, they are number 2 in all baseball. The Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, along with Racio Iglesias have all been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. You've had Tyler Kinley be a little bit hit or miss, but all in all, I do like these guys. And then on the other end for the St. Louis Cardinals, just has not been a good bullpen this season. They're right about 18th in terms of ERA. ERA. Ryan Stanek, Matt Svanson, both above a 4.50 ERA. You've had just a lot of guys that have sort of been not able to provide anything. Chris Roycroft, he's no longer with the team anymore, so that's not great. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, they've got really big home and road splits with their offense. They average 5.5 runs per game away from home and 3.7 at home. I mean, you still have Jordan Walker, who's been able to give you 20-plus home runs. He's hitting just a hair below 300. He has been great for the team, but and a lot of these guys, they just see a little bit of a slip slide when they're at home. Like, you got Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt to combine 28 home runs. Both of these guys have been solid in terms of getting on base, especially Weatherholt. He's been able to give you an on-base percentage right around about a 360 thus far this season. But you take a look at what some of these guys are doing at home, and they're just not really giving you a whole heck of a lot. Like, when Nolan Gorman's been out there, he's been hitting below the Bedell sign of 200 at home. He's been a guy that has been on the injury list, so that helps you out. But Ivan Rara, guy that overall for the season has about a 390 on base, 325 on base when he's at home. So, I mean, it's been very alarming there. I do think that for the Atlanta Braves, they do go out there, get the job done, especially with having Matt Olson now up to 25 plus home runs. He's been a rock for this team, and you still have a lot of guys that are aiming for a really nice average, like a Michael Harris has been able to darn near 300. He's been able to supply you with about 16 home runs. Drake Baldwin, he hasn't been himself since coming out the injury list, but still 15 home runs. Ozzy, Albies, 14 bombs out of him. Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, these guys are moving the line. So I do think that the Braves get the job done. I do like them on the money line. I semi-total it at 8.9. Right now we're between an 8.5 to a 9. Personally, I would much rather have an 8.5 to the over rather than a 9 to the under. No guarantees that we get it, but would be looking at that over before the under to go along with the money line. 9.59, 9.60. The Dodgers are going to be playing the Sears and the Diamondbacks. Brandon Pfaadt is looking to battle for the Diamondbacks. Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are between minus 275 to a minus 290, plus 225 to plus 235. That number on Arizona, 9 is the total. The over is anywhere between even to minus 110. Minus 110 to minus 120 is the under, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Diamondbacks if we can get to a plus 238 or higher, which we should when it's all said and done. Right now I'm seeing plus 235. When we get the timeline, I think that we should be able to get like a plus 240. I'm going to be in here. I am a schmuck for pain, and Brandon Pfaadt has not been good thus far this season, but in his 2 starts since they restored him to the starting rotation, he's given up 1 run in 11 and a third innings, actually 10 and a third innings, but he's been much better. Like, it's something that is strange. He has not gotten a lot of strikeouts, 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, but hey, he's starting to hold down the fort. Maybe the time that he was away from the team, because he was away for like 4 or so weeks, that maybe actually did him a little bit of good. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto actually has some very big career home and road splits. Like, you take a look at him, and this is not just this year, this is for all 3 years that he's been with the LA Dodgers, or else it would be a very small sample size. But I mean, in the 3 years that he's been a member of the LA Dodgers, he's got a 3.15 ERA at home, he's got a 2.15 ERA away from home. Away from home, he gives up in that neighborhood about 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, and it's not like he's getting tattooed at home, but that's closer to 1 home run per 9 innings at home. And it is a Dodgers lineup that hasn't been the same at home. For the Dodgers, they average over 6 runs per game away from home, 4.55 runs per game at home. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani is doing Shohei Ohtani things. He's back up to like 20 home runs, nearly 4 on base. He has been great for this team. And I will say, for the LA Dodgers, we've been seeing a little bit of improvement out of some of these other guys as well, because whenever Mookie Betts has been out there, he's been much better over the last few weeks. He was terrible to begin the season. And then you got like Freddie Freeman, Andy Baez, Max Muncy. These guys have been able to give you between about 15 to 17 home runs. They're all hitting at least a 260. Teoscar Hernandez has come back. He's been able to give you a bit of something. And even something like Miguel Rojas has been able to about a 285 as well. For the Diamondbacks, a little bit of power outage for them this season. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 17 home runs. He's been able to about a 265. Corbin Carroll, 13 bombs. He's up to about a 335 on base. Outside of that, nobody really north of 11 home runs. You got someone like Geraldo Perdomo, Gabriel Moreno, who've been able to give you about a 340 on base. And while the Diamondbacks bullpen is not amazing, it's about league average in terms of ERA. And they just have had a lot of guys that have been able to go out there and hold down the fort. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Paul Sewald, the closer, but these guys like Jonathan Loaiza, Taylor Clark, Ryan Thompson, Juan Maria, they've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Jack Dreyer's been acting up a little bit for the Dodgers. I like what I've seen out of Edgar Enriquez, but now you've got Blake Trinan on the injury list. Will Klein continues to give you a sub 3 ERA along with Alex Vesia, but hurt Kyle Hurt over a 4 ERA. So interesting circumstance here. I think the high scoring game. I total 9.3. I like the over, and for the Diamondbacks, plus 238 or better, like that money line. 961, 962 on the card. It's the Athletics. They are going to be on the road against the Chicago White Sox. Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for the White Sox, and gauge jump for the Athletics. Athletics are minus 115 favorites, minus 105 to minus 102 for the Southsiders. 9 is the total. The over is between minus 115 to minus 120. Under is between even and minus 105. Seeing a straight 9.5 out there. That under is minus 125. Over is plus 105, and I do like the under. I did set my total here at an 8.6. For the Athletics, gauge jump has been pretty darn solid for them. Last 2 starts have been an issue, but 3 earned runs or fewer in 6 out of his 8 starts. 377 ERA, closer to about a 353 fielding dependent, as 2 blow-up starts actually came at home because Sacramento has been such a difficult place to pitch all season long. You take a look at what Jump has been able to do in his 3 road starts. He has given up a 1 run in 18 and a third innings, and that's a big reason why I do like the under. And for Eric Fetty Wap, this guy is lucky that he's got the ERA that he's got. 4.34 ERA, more around a 5.37 fielding dependent, only 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, pitching to a lot of contact, 1.6 home runs, 3.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. Now it is a Sacramento A's team that they do have a little bit of a fall off with their offense away from home, 4.8 runs per game at home, closer to about 4.3 away from home. But getting back Tyler Soderstrom move, prior to him going on the injury list, last 38s before he went on the injury list, he was hitting darn near 300 with a bunch of bombs. That's massive for this team. Carlos Cortez, who's got nearly 350 on base, he's back for the team. Now Lawrence Butler continues to do nothing for you, but hey, Shea is banging for 20 home runs this season. Nick Kurtz, he's probably going to be out for a little bit of time, so you have to factor that in, but Jacob Wilson comes back as well, so even though you do lose Kurtz, you've got a lot of guys that are back, and Henry Bolte has been able to give you over 350 on base as well. Meanwhile, for the Chicago White Sox, you've got Montaka Murakami back. He and Miguel Vargas entered in the series with 20 home runs apiece. Both of these guys are solid on base, not necessarily give you a lot of average. And then Colson Montgomery, the 23 bombs are nice, only hitting about a 220, but again, he'll move the line for you as well. These guys like Tristan Peters, Chase Meadroth, 335 to 345 on base, and Sam Antonassi has been really good with a 380 on base as well. White Sox are right around about a league average team with their bullpen right now. It's a very hit or miss bullpen because the likes of Jordan Leisure is currently on the injury list, just be absolutely awful for this team. But these guys like a Brian Hudson, Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, they've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Jordan Nix or Anthony Dominguez, these are veterans that you really don't want to be relying upon. And for the Athletics, it's been all sorts of rough with regards to his bullpen. The likes of Jose Suarez, Jacob Lopez, Luis Medina, Mark Leiter Jr. They're really all posting up above a 4 ERA. They really have not been good, and they're not showing a lot of signs. Mason Barnett has been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. I like what Hogan Harris is able to bring to the table, but I just think that Gage Jump is going to be able to go out there, get the job done in this one, and I think that him pitching away from home is a good thing. I'm a little A with the Athletics at them at minus 132, and I'm in on the total to the under. Somebody told it at 8.6, 963, 964 on the card. The Twins are going to be playing host to the Angels, as we do know that Joe Ryan is going to be on the bump. For the Twins, it's all to be determined. For the Angels, this is a game that's presently off the board. This should be Ryan Johnson, but if it's not Ryan Johnson, it's really not a downgrade, because if you get Ryan Johnson here, you're probably up a creek without a rowing utensil, because Ryan Johnson is right now posting up a 6.99 ERA and a fielding independent of a 6.26 with 2.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Even for as awful as this Angels bullpen is, a bullpen game might actually be better. And right now my handicap is I'm willing to lay up to minus 175 with Twins on the money line, plus 113 or better. The run line, and then plus 177 or better. I would be looking at the Angels. Total of an 8.4, 8 or less, looking at the over, 8.5 higher to the under. Again, I know that the Angels are not great with their bullpen, but Jay Silsa, Sam Bachman, these guys have been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Jose Fermin has been relatively presentable. And if you get someone like Sam Adajeri or something like that starting, probably a little bit of an upgrade, maybe like 10 cents there, give or take a little bit, but yeah, it's just not great to say the least for the LA Angels. And I will say for their lineup, they've actually been a top 10 team in terms of run creation away from home this season. Now you're getting Mike Trout back in the fold, as he's been able to give you about 18 home runs despite being on the injury list for so long, nearly at 390 on base. Zach Neto really doesn't move the line, but he does give you 19 home runs. Joe Adell setting fire to the rain. Ian Soler combined 24 home runs. Soler and Odell both with right around about a 300 on base. And these mix and match guys like Jose Siri, Wade Meckler, they've actually been okay for the team this season. I'm really still not feeling Vaughn Grisham, but hey, you're getting a bit of something there. And for the Twins, you do have to factor in the fact that Byron Buxton, I believe, is going to be out of the fold for the rest of this series as well. That's rough because he's been able to give you 25 plus home runs this season. But Josh Bell all of a sudden has been hitting for like over a 350 on base over the last 40 days. So I had a little bit of credit credit there. He's up to 13 home runs. Cody Clemens, Brooks Lee, a combined 30 home runs this season. Trevor Larnach has been able to give you 375 on base. The Minnesota Twins bullpen is awful. They are dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Just absolutely deplorable work what we are seeing right now. Yandres Gomez in a Twins uniform has been able to provide a sub-3 ERA, and Kendrys Rojas hasn't been terrible, but even he's starting to act up. Andrew Morris has been a little bit better recently. The overall ERA is a 3.64. He's been a bit better, but I just go down the list of so many of these guys like an Anthony Banda, Cody Funderburk, Cody Lawyerson. They tried it out there. Zach Kent, Eric Orze, Taylor Rogers. All these guys are posting up an ERA above a 4 or so. And then you got Joe Ryan who needs to hold down the fort. And Joe Ryan has been great. 2.85 ERA. Fielding dependence is even lower because he's given up about 0.85 home runs per 9 innings. Walks per 9 rate in the neighborhood of 2. 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I think that he goes out there and just simply shoves in this case. So 8 or less looking at the over 8.5 or higher, the under. 1 to lay up to minus 175 with Twins plus 113 or better the run line. And then with the Angels need at least plus 177 if it is Johnson. And then again, 10-cent upgrade for the Angels if it's pretty much anyone not named Ryan Johnson in this case. 965, 966 on the card. It's the Seattle Mariners on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. Griffin Jacks getting jacks up for the Rays and Logan Gilbert for the Seattle Mariners. Mariners do find themselves in a pick'em game. They're anywhere between about minus 102 to a minus 110, between minus 110 to a minus 116. That number on the Rays, 7.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, and I do like the Mariners here. I set them at a minus 119. For Griffin Jacks, he has been significantly better when he has been a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. When he was coming out of the bullpen this year, he was posting up an ERA of an 8, and he was giving up 3 home runs per 9 innings. Now, I don't necessarily think that the improvement with his ERA is quite as sustainable as some people, but I mean, still, as a starter thus far this season, right around about a 2.89 ERA, he is still giving up about 1.3, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. So again, I do think that regression is going to be coming, but he's been a whole heck of a lot better as a starter than for Logan Gilbert. 3.19 ERA. He's getting 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and has just really improved recently. 0 or 1 runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. And when it comes to Logan Gilbert, aside from that one start against the Guardians where he gave up 4 runs, he has been pretty masterful on the road. 1.73 ERA on the road. 1 home run allowed in 41 2/3 innings. And for the Seattle Mariners, they back him up with a top 7 bullpen in terms of ERA. Now you do have Matt Brash along with Cooper Criswell on the injury list, but you've got the likes of Gade Spire, Edward Bizardo, Nick Davila, who've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Andres Munoz is honestly not even good in this bullpen, but I mean, still, you've got a lot of nice pieces there. And for the Rays, they've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I do like some of these mix and match guys. Casey Lugumina, Cam Boozer, they've been able to go out there and give you a sub-4 ERA in a Rays uniform. Kevin Kelly, along with Brian Baker, have really been your 2 main guys. They've been able to give you sub-3 ERA. Cole Sulzer continues to be an issue. And then Junior Caminero, going to yesterday, looking at the lineup, 12 home runs in his last 16 games. My goodness, this guy is just absolutely on a tear. He's up to 27 bombs thus far this season. Then you got Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, 13 home runs apiece. They've both been able to give you about a 385 plus on base. And then outside that, really nobody else with more than 10 home runs this season. You need a little bit more out of Taylor Wall, Cedric Mullins, but Chandler Simpson, 22 plus stolen bases. He's hitting like a 275. Ryan Velde, Johnny DeLuca, these guys have been hitting above a 250. Nick Fortes is continuing to move the line as well. And for the Seattle Mariners, this has been a team that's actually been in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of run creation. It's been rough for Cal Raleigh this season, but Tom Canzone, 15 home runs, right around about 340 or so with regards to that on base. Julio Rodriguez, Luke Raley, they're both not going off the Rayleys. They're both giving you 14 home runs apiece. So Rodriguez been in and out of the lineup over the last few days. Cole Young, he's been able to give you 10 home runs. Randy Arozarena up to a 3D on base as well. So circumstance where I do think that the Mariners find a way to be able to get the job done. We'll lay up to a 118 on that money line, and this is my total at a 7.3. So right now we are seeing that 7.5. I'm going to be in on that under. 967, 968 on the card, though. Walker, Texas Rangers. Playoffs, the Houston Astros. Peter Lambert goes for the Astros, and Kumar Rocker for the Rangers. Rangers minus 122 to minus 126 favorites, plus 104 to a plus 105 is that number on Houston, with totals between 8 to 8.5. On the 8.5, under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, and on the 8, the over is minus 120. That under is even money. And when it comes to the Astros, I did set them at a plus 124, so minus 123 or better. So we're right on that borderline. I am going to be looking at the Rangers on the money line. I would think I could get a minus 120 once we get the timelines out. And for Peter Lambert, the big issue that you do have with him is walks. He has been giving out well above 3 walks per 9 innings. The strikeout stuff, it might not be supreme, but it's been good enough. And to the credit of Peter Lambert, Lambert, he's been relatively okay in terms of being able to keep the ball in the yard. Overall for the season, a 3.26 ERA, closer to about a 4.28 fielding dependent, 1.1 home runs, the 3.6 walks per 9 innings. So the reason why he does have that 4.28 fielding dependent, in my opinion. Then on the other end of things, you've got a guy in Coomer Rocker who just has been so much better throughout his career when he's been at home rather than away from home. Now, he does have the propensity to get just absolutely blown up. We've seen that a few times like that. Start against the Twins where he gave up 7 runs. That was a little bit less than savory, 3.95 ERA, but and he's giving up 1 home run, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, and you look at his career numbers, so this spans all of his seasons. He has a career 3.47 home ERA and a 6.03 ERA away from home. And at home, he's given up about 0.75 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, well above 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. So really a night and day difference, and gets a face-off against a bunch in the Houston Astros. And in my opinion, is a little bit top-heavy because the outfield is just giving you absolutely nothing whatsoever. Yordan Alvarez has been great. He's been giving you 25-plus home runs, over a 4 on base, and you've been able to have Christian Walker be able to supply this team with 20 home runs. Isaac Paredes is moving line with about a 350-ish on base. Jeremy Pena's been solid as well, but these guys like Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, Bryce Matthews, Joey Luperfido, Cam Smith, like they're all hitting a 225 or lower. Lamont Wade Jr. and Smith has 11 home runs. Nobody else is really providing power. And for the Rangers, they're getting back Wyatt Langford, and that helps him out. He was really on a tear before he had another injured list stint, so we'll see what he does here. But he's been able to hit 275, 8 home runs at his first 175 at-bats of the season. Josh Young is hitting darn near 300. Ezekiel Duran has been able to move the line, give you over a 330 on base. Icky Lopez, along with someone like an Elias Diaz, they've been guys that they picked up off the scrap heap, have been solid. Not a lot of power here. Jock Peterson and Jake Berger, lone 2 guys in the lineup yesterday with more than 9 home runs. And for the Rangers, they have been a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st. We've seen quite a few injuries. Jacob Junis being on the injury list hurts them. I know that they've been without Jalen Beeks as well. Tyler Alexander, Jacob Bledsoe, they've been able to give you about a sub 350 ERA. And for the Astros, they've actually been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. Josh Hader coming back has really done wonders for the team. And then Brian King, Steven Okert, they've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Brian Arroyo and Daniel De Los Santos, so they continue to be absolutely awful. So interesting ordeal here. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 123 with regards to that Rangers. Money line should be able to get there when it's all said and done. And between an 8 to an 8.5, I semi-total it at 8.3. I will take the 8 to the over rather than the 8.5 to the under. 969, 970 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Orioles. Kyle Bradish is on the bump for Baltimore. Noah Cameron for the Royals. The Royals are a plus 130 to a plus 135 underdog, minus 155 to minus 160 for Baltimore, and 9 is the total. The over and the under both are minus 110, and for the Orioles, I did set them here at a minus 158. If you are looking to lay a run half with them, I was willing to take anything of a plus 130 or better. I'm right now seeing that at a plus 136. I lean a little bit more to the run line rather than the money line because this is a Royals bullpen that is royally awful this year. I wish I could put it any other way. I do like Nolan Cameron. I'll get to him in a second, but 29th in terms of bullpen ERA for the Royals at about a 5.22. Beck Way has actually been okay in this bullpen, so you like that. But Matt Strom, Lucas Erceg, Alex Lang, a whole bunch of guys with over a 4 ERA. John Schreiber's been relatively okay, but the injury to Carlos Estevez has just absolutely destroyed this team. And then for the Royals, they're a bottom 3 team in terms of road run production, as you've got a lot of guys who are averaging between 13 and 14 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr., Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione, and in the case of Jensen and Caglione, about a 310 to a 320 on base, more like a 360 for Bobby Witt Jr., but Salvador Perez, I recognize he's got 11 home runs, 251 on base. Like, you need a little bit more of something there. Lane Thomas has been able to give you about a 340 on base, but he's been inconsistent all season long. You've had the likes of Nick Lofton and company be sort of mix and match guys that have been neither here nor there. And then for the Baltimore Orioles, they're averaging about 3.8-ish runs per game at home, significantly better than what they're doing away from home. And Gunnar Henderson needs to pick it up less than a 300 on base, but also for Gunnar Henderson, 16 home runs. Pete Alonso, he's been much better recently. 20 bombs, he's been able to give you about a 345 on base. It's a little bit touch and go with some of these guys towards the bottom of the lineup, the likes of Tyler O'Neill, Jackson Holiday, Kobe Mayo, hitting at 220 or lower. But Taylor Ward, even though he's not giving you bombs, 5 home runs this season after he had 30 plus with the Angels last year, about a 383 on base. So you do like to be able to see that. And then with regards to the bullpen of the Orioles, it's been much improved recently. They're currently without Keegan Aiken, which that's honestly a good thing for the team. Uncle Rico Garcia, along with Enier Cano have both been able to give you an ERA that is a sub 275, been able to get some relatively good production out of some of these other mix and match guys as well, because it really didn't work out with Dietrich Enns. You've had someone like your Grant Wolfram posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about a 5, but they've been able to find a few guys to just be able to go out there, hold down the fort for this team, like a Tyler Wells, who's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Anthony Nunez has been a little bit shaky as well, but things appear to be improving with regards to that bullpen, and they are going to be going up against a guy in Noah Cameron, who I feel like has been pitching better than his ERA would indicate. He's just had a few blow-up starts thus far this season for Cameron. 4.77 ERA, more around about a 3.81 fielding dependent, 1 home run, 3 walks allowed per 9 innings, has given up 4+ runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. So that's a little bit less than savory. And for Kyle Bradish, he's going to need to work on the command, because I mentioned it with the Orioles, they have been a little bit shaky with their bullpen thus far this season. And for Bradish, 3.75 ERA, 4.12 fielding dependent, 4.3 walks per 9 innings, still 9 punch-outs per 9. He's only giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings as well. So a little bit of an interesting ordeal here. I do like the over, so I total at 9.1. So in on that over, and for the Orioles, plus 132 or better, like the run line. 971, 972 on the card. The Yankees are going to be on the road against the Washington Nationals. Miles Michaelis goes for Washington. Cam Schlittler for the Yankees. Yankees minus 190 to minus 199 favorites, plus 160 to plus 165 for the Washington Nationals. And total on this game, it is currently a 9. The over and the under both at minus 110. I'm seeing one straight 8.5. That over juice is minus 125, and the under is plus 105. And if you're looking to lay run half with the Yankees, that's between minus 114 to minus 115 on that run line. And I'm going to go run line here. I'd be willing to go up to about a minus 118 with Cam Schlittler. He should be able to go out there and dominate. I recognize that this is a Washington Nationals team that's currently numero uno in all of baseball in terms of run scoring. They've been able to put up about 5.4 runs per game, but they also are number 1 in terms of on-base plus slugging against lefties, or on 7th against righties. And for Cam Schlittler, he has just gone out there and has dominated all season long. He had that one rough start, I believe it was against the Guardians about a week or two ago, but still, 10.5 strikeouts, 1.7 walks per 9 innings, 201 ERA overall, and that falls to a 104 when he is away from home. He has been sterling when he has been away from Yankee Stadium. Meanwhile, for Miles Michaelis, 5.78 ERA, that's obviously less than savory, and he's given up 2 home runs per 9 innings. It lowers by a full point to a 4.78 in his last 17 appearances, and do note that with Miles Michaelis, they might be throwing an opener for him, so you might see like BJ Poulin, insert your favorite reliever here of the Washington Nationals, and this has been a Nationals bullpen that has been 27th in terms of ERA at a 5.04. You've had a lot of guys not be great. Brad Lord going on the injury list along with Richard Dickey Lovelady, that's been a little bit less than savory. PJ Poulin, who I mentioned before, he's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. They had to give up on Cionel Perez, and then Paxton Schultz is a guy with an over 5 ERA. Gus Varland has not necessarily been amazing, but still, they're starting to be able to find a little bit more stability out of some of these young guys that they're kicking the tires on. Justin Lawrence has been looking a little bit better over his last few appearances, so you've got something there. Julian Fernandez, in its small sample size, he's been relatively okay, as well as Clayton Beater, but for the Nationals, the main attraction here is the offense, as James Wood has been able to give you good Wood, 25 home runs, right around about a 400 on base, and then Luis Garcia and CJ Abrams, both up to 20 home runs entering into the series. For Abrams, he's been able to about a 275, closer to 290 for Garcia. Down Lyle, he's been able to move line, he's been able to give you 10 home runs as well, and Curtis Mead, not necessarily the greatest average, but 340 on base, 15 home runs out of him, so really a rock solid team. And for the Yankees entering into this series, they had scored an average of 3.3 runs per game in their last 19 games. That's not a place where you want to be. Paul Goldschmidt on something like an 0 for 36 slump entering into the day on Friday. You've had Trent Grisham actually now give you about a 334 on base. You've been able to get some good production as well out of Ben Rice, still over 24 home runs, a 360 or so on base. But these young guys like a Spencer Jones, who's right now dealing with injury, Yasan Dominguez, they have not stepped up. The catcher spot has been brutal for the Yankees. They're actually number 1 in the American League in terms of opening ERA. David Bednar has not been poop with the Bednar, sub 350 ERA. Tim Mill's been a little bit better recently. Paul Blackburn, they had to give him like an open a few days ago, but he, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick, they're giving you a sub 350 ERA, so I do like the under in this spot of 8.4, and I think that the Yankees win a lower scoring game, but I think that they can do so by multiple runs getting to Michaelis, so I do like the run line here of the Yankees, and I'd like this total to the under. 973, 974 on the card, it is the Red Sox. They are going to be on the road facing off against the New York Mets, and for the Mets, we do know that it's going to be Freddie Peralta going for them. Right now, it's listed as to be determined for the Boston Red Sox. That's why most places have this one off the board. Fangraphs was projecting Brian Bayo, and if you get Bayo, I'd be willing to lay up to minus 128 on the Mets, plus 130 or better, looking at the Red Sox, and then I said I told you where in 8 or less, I'm going to be in on the over, in 8.5 or higher, I will be taking a shot on the under, as I mean, man, this has been a really interesting run for Freddie Peralta, to say the least. He has been so bad that it's not even funny. I have to think that there's positivity here for Freddie Peralta. Like, I mean, up until about a month or so ago, he was posting like a 3.5 ERA. It wasn't great, but you know what? He wasn't as miserable of a disappointment as most of the Mets. Now he's just been a miserable disappointment. 4.68 ERA, a 4.29 fielding dependent, about 3.5 walks allowed per 9 innings. You're always going to get the walks and the 8.5 strikeouts per 9. That's a little bit of an issue. You take a look at the batting average on balls in play, and it's been just all sorts of atrocious there at about a 309, so things have not been great for him, to say the least. And if you do legitimately get Brian Bale, you just don't know what to expect out of him, because he hasn't made a big league start in quite a while, and they are hoping to be able to get him back because they had to place Ranger Suarez on the injury list, and for Bale, it's just been a big disappointment from this year. 6.34 ERA, 5.03 fielding pen, never gets strikeouts, 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. But the good news is he gets a face-off against a Mets team that's in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of run production, and for the Mets, they just have not had a lot of offense and a lot of the deep ball in general, because Juan Soto, he's been able to give you 20-plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 4.14 on base, and then A.J. Ewan, 3.55 on base. Really the only other guy on the starting lineup for yesterday with above a 3.15-ish on base is Carson Bench, who's been solid recently, hitting about a 270. Francisco Alvarez is giving you something, but I mean, these guys like Ore Polanco, Francisco Lindor, Brett Beatty, you got a lot of guys that have just underachieved for the team. And for the Red Sox, 26-21 on the road going into the day yesterday, 10 games below 500 at home, and they average about 3.55 runs per game. When they're at home, they average closer to 4.6 runs per game away from home. So big splits there. You have the likes of Masataka Yoshida, Wilder Abreu, Cedar Rafaela, and then throw in there Isaiah Kiner-Falefa between about a 325 to a 335 on base. Anthony Siegler has actually been able to hit for well above a 275 as well. You're getting back Rami Gonzalez, small sample size, but he's been solid. Team that has been just really carried by Wilson Contreras, give you 20-plus home runs. Was out of the lineup yesterday, thinking he should be able to come back here, and for the Red Sox, they do continue to be a really good bullpen in the top 7 in terms of ERA. Greg Weisert has not necessarily been amazing this year, but Garrett Woodlock, Teron Guerrero, they've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Danny Kalum, overall, the ERA has not been great. He's been improving. Aroldis Chapman has been one of the best closers in all of baseball. And then on the other end for the New York Mets, all of a sudden you've had Austin Warren fall straight down the toilet bowl. Now, for the rest of the bullpen, like Brooks Raley, AJ Minter, Oscar Brisbane, these guys have been relatively solid. And then Devin Williams, he's just been awful as a closer as well. So I'll have to have all sorts of questions there. It's a very, very interesting circumstance. I just don't trust in this Mets offense doing very much. So 8 or less, I'm in on the over, 8.5 or higher. I'm going to be taking a shot on the under. And for the Mets, willing to lay up to a minus 128 on the money line, and then a plus 130 or better, I'm going to be in on the Boston Red Sox. 975, 976 on the card. You've got the Guardians on the road against the Marlins as Uri Perez is on the bump. For the Marlins, and Tanner Bybee goes for Cleveland, and Cleveland does find themselves as a pretty good-sized underdog here, plus 122 to a plus 130, minus 144 to minus 155. That number on Miami. 7.5 is the total. The over is minus 120. The under is even, seeing a straight 8. Under is minus 120. Over is even money. I set the Marlins at a minus 140. I think that when we get the dime lines, I should be able to get that minus 140. If worse comes to worse, I'm seeing laying a run half, I'm able to get a plus 158. I would be willing to take a plus 152 or better. So some form of capacity will be in on the Marlins. I'm thinking I get that minus 140 money line when it's all said and done, but if worse comes to it, I'll just take the run line instead. As for Uri Perez, he has had massive home and road splits throughout his career, and I didn't know what to expect from him coming off the injury list. He takes that perfect game into like the 7th inning in Sacramento, and then they pull him. That was just a big giant buzzkill to say the least. But you do take a look at Uri Perez, and these are his career numbers. So this is not just like one season or anything like that. For his career, 268 home ERA. At home, he's allowing right around about 0.9 to 1 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, he allows 2 home runs per 9 innings with that 4.74 ERA. So a massive difference there. And for Tanner Bybee, he's been giving up quite a bit of the deep ball this season. 4.06 ERA, giving up in that neighborhood about 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. So he's got a 4.88 fielding dependent, down to 7.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. And the Guardians are still above average with their bullpen ERA, but it certainly isn't the Guardians bullpen that we've seen in the past. Tim Herron has been able to give you sub 350 ERA, and after a rough start to the season, Hunter Gaddis has been able to do a little bit of a better job as well. You've been able to get some nice mix and match guys like a Colin Holderman to go out there, but Sean Armstrong has been all sorts of shaky. Eric Sabrowski has been okay since coming off the injury list, but for the Guardians, last 32 games are averaging about 3.6 runs per game. You can tell that they've been missing Jose Ramirez, they've been missing Anel Martinez. That's been an issue because you do have a few guys, like a Chase Lauder, Brian Rocchio, that'd be able to give you about a 340 or so with that on base. Travis Bazzana more around about a 335, but not a lot of power here. You've got 10 home runs out of Kyle Manzardo, and that's about it. And Steven Kwan hitting at 220 this year. My goodness, that's not been great. And for the Miami Marlins, they just continue to find a way to win games. Going to yesterday, 26-8 in their last 34 games. I like to call them the Southeast version of the Milwaukee Brewers because Liam Hicks right now leads the way with 13 home runs. They're a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs out of per at base. Hicks has been able to give you about a 360 on base. You just have so many guys that swipe bags. Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, Jacob Marcy, Asterio Ruiz, all with at least 13 stolen bases this season for Edwards and Lopez. They've both been able to hit above a 300. Javier Sanja has been able to hit about a 280 as well. You've all of a sudden had Alberto Hernandez be able to pick it up a little bit as well. These guys like Owen Casey, Kyle Stowers, that were a little bit of a disappointment to begin the season. They've been all of a sudden clicking as well. And this is a Miami Marlins team that is a top 9 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I recognize that Lake Bakar had his ERA elevated due to what happened out there in Sacramento, but he's still been a nice reliever for the team. They're dealing with the injury to Anthony Bender, but Michael Peterson, great name. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA along John King, who's been a little bit banged up himself, but William Kipner has been able to step up for his bullpen. Tyler Zuber all of a sudden has been able to give you some good innings. So I do think that the Marlins go out there, get the job done. I'm a little up to minus 140 on the money line. Worst comes to worst, I'll take the run line, and then I did set my total here at a 7.8. So on the 7.5 to 8, I'll take the 7.5 to the over. That's mostly what we're seeing. 977, 978 on the card. The Phillies are on the road against the Tigers as Cadis for Sanchez goes for the Phils. You've got Casey Mize going for Detroit. Detroit does find themselves between plus 115 to a plus 124. Meanwhile, minus 135 to a minus 146. That number on the Phillies. 7 to 7.5 is the total on the 7. Over is minus 120. The unders even on the 7.5. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. For the Phillies, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 136 on the money line. So seeing that minus 135, that's pretty much my max lay. And I recognize that Christopher Sanchez has had one or two rough ones recently, but I think the guy has been still super duper superb this season, posting up a 262 ERA, 267 fielding dependent, 10.2 strikeouts, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he gets to go up against a Tigers team that I recognize that since June 1st, they've actually been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, but overall for the season, they continue to be a bottom 10 team in terms of being able to score runs. You've had Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, both give you over 375 on base, but Dylan Dingler is right now dealing with injury. I mean, these guys at the bottom of the fold, Zach McKinstry, Jake Rogers, James Outman, Matt Vierling, a lot of guys. You get 225 or lower. He's not at the bottom fold, but Spencer Torkelson does have the 15 home runs, but I mean, hitting for a 212, you just need a little bit more there. And then for the Phillies, it's still not great with this offense, but still, Trey Turner down for Wood, Bryson Stott hitting more in that neighborhood about a 240. Gabriel Urconis is really giving you nothing out there in the outfield, and the catcher spot has just been a big albatross, but Kyle Schwarber, 32 plus shoulder bombs this season, 370 on base. Bryce Harper, 365 on base. He's been able to hit 20 plus home runs. Hopefully he's not sending any more videos, but hey, he's been able to do a solid job for the team, and Casey Mize has been magnificent as well. That's a big reason why I'm taking this total to the under. I typically don't take this low of a total to the under, but I did set my total at 6.6 because you look at Casey Mize, 264 ERA. The fielding independent is more in that neighborhood about a 272, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2 walks per 9, 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, and the Tigers are a top 4 bullpen in terms of ERA since June 1st. Like, all of a sudden, these guys have been able to click. You've had Will Vest be quite a bit of a disappointment this year, but you know what? You're starting to be able to get more out of Tyler Holton, Drew Summers, who've been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Still interested in Kenley Jansen, but Kadir Montero going into that bullpen, he's been able to help out the cause as well. So I think that you get a nice low scoring game. So my total is 6.6, so I like the under, and I'm in on the Phillies on the money line up to a minus 136. Wrap things up with 979, 980. Padres are going to be playing us the Blue Jays. Trey Savage is on the bum for the Jays, and Mr. Walker Buehler is on the bum for San Diego. San Diego's minus 120 to minus 126. Between even money to plus 105, that number on Toronto. 8 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. Seeing 7.5 on the 7.5. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. So I total 7.6. Mostly seeing 8. I will be willing to take a shot on that under, and I like the Blue Jays here on the money line. For Walker Buehler, he has been better than what the ERA would indicate, but for Walker Buehler, man, rough last few starts. He started that game in which the team gave up the 23 spot against the Cubs. He has, as a matter of fact, given up 16 total runs in 9 innings in his last 2 starts. That's a nice ERA booster to a 5.07. Again, 4.13 fielding independent, so he's been a bit better there. 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's getting about 8.3 strikeouts per 9, but I just trust in you Savage a little bit more. A 3.31 ERA. He is giving up about 3.9 walks per 9 innings, down to about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but where you Savage has really been, the Savage has been away from home. When he has been away from Toronto this season, for Trey Savage right now, he's giving you a 2.36 ERA. He's giving up less than 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, and it's a Blue Jays bullpen that has been one of the best in all of baseball over the last about about 45 or so days. Now, for the Padres, they themselves have been a solid bullpen. I recognize that Jason Adams is on the injury list, but Yuki Matsui has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Wandy Peralta's been rock solid. Obviously, you've got Mason Miller doing a good job holding down the fort on Adrian Morejon. Over the last 35 days, he's been able to give you a sub-225 ERA. Meanwhile, for the Blue Jays, you've got two guys in Tyler Rogers, Louis Varlin, who have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Braden Fisher's been a little bit better recently. He had some just trials and tribulations, like I would say towards the beginning of the month of June, but he's been able to do a little bit better job for this team. But all of a sudden, Tommy Nance has been able to give you some relatively okay innings. These mix and match guys are coming out of the bullpen. They're actually relatively presentable. Mason Flaherty has been a little bit better recently as well, and just have two really bad offenses in this game as well. For the Blue Jays, you just don't have any power outside of Kazuma Okamoto, 21 home runs, and that's a lone guy on the roster that has 10 plus bombs. I mean, for Vlad Guerrero Jr., still stuck on 5 home runs. He's giving you still that 343 on base, and plenty of guys are finding way on base. They do have Jesus Sanchez currently on the injury list, but likes of a Ernie Clement, Nathan Lukes have been able to hit above a 285. You've had Yohendrick Pinago be able to about a 265 as well. And then on the other end for the San Diego Padres, they don't really have power. They don't really have guys moving the line. Fernando Tatis Jr. right around about a 345 on base, but he's still stuck on 5 home runs. Manny Machado does have 19 home runs, but he's hitting a 193. Xander Bogaerts, Kevin Sheets, Jackson Merrill. These guys are hitting between about a 215 to a 230. Miguel Andujar has been able to hit for a little bit of average, but no power there whatsoever. Jake Cronenworth continues to hit below the Mendoza line of a 200. So I do think that the Blue Jays get the job done in a lower scoring game, like the 8 to the under. And for the Blue Jays, set them at a minus 111. I'm in on that money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy and the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @unit_81. Keep in mind, Larry ZM, the me does not matter. So, per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day. Doing picks and analysis on every game every day. So, I will be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.